I don't know that the station has a tech, but I'll give you the best I can.
One of them is bone conduction, and this technology is being used in some of the subway systems, at least that it's being shown on YouTube, with these little black boxes at the bottom of windows, and all it does is emit vibrations. And if you lean your head up against it, you can actually hear what's going on. And so right now, it's being stated that it is not only being used for deaf, but the military as well. With that being said, what is your take on that kind of technology?
Well, I mean, if it's an advancement that will help humankind, clearly, I mean, wouldn't you want to at least explore, its benefits? Well, that said, I mean, could there be a downside of some kind? I mean, I'm not an expert. Maybe there is. So I'm all for new technologies, exploring, the upside and the potential downsides, and then evaluating if it's the best way to go. I mean, just off the top of my head, I mean, I really don't know because you're explaining it to me the first time. I've never heard of it. But as just a citizen and a taxpayer, I mean, my initial reaction is it sounds like something that's well worthy of exploring.
All right. What about tradazone? Tradazone, it's a medication that's been used. A lot of it is for, I guess how they start out, it was for like people with severe depression or just depression in general. And now they kind of expanded to that. And now they kind of use it for sleep deprivation or sleep disorder, insomnia, or anything like that.
So is it proving to be effective in that way?
I guess they kind of, from what I'm gathering, it is a little bit effective, but they also say that this can, in some people, heighten what they're experiencing as far as their depression or their suicidal thoughts, or right. So I mean, it can be on both sides of the spectrum.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, just again, the information you shared with me. I mean, it sounds like the downsides could potentially outweigh the benefits. So I think it would require a lot of real careful analysis in terms of determining what's the best thing to do for the public at large. If it can be demonstrated that the benefits outweigh the downsides, then maybe it should go forward. But I mean, if it's as you described it, there's enhanced incidents of suicidal thoughts, enhanced incidents of other psychological disorder. Yeah, I mean that's troubling. And so I hope that the experts that are analyzing it at the FDA and others, carefully consider all the pros and cons.
Okay. And also, do you feel kind of the same way with these other medications that have that same side effect?
I think so. My brother was a career smoker, and he took Chantix to try to curb his desire, for smoking. And while that part of it was good, the side effect was it did contribute to suicidal thoughts. He did not commit suicide, but he was able to describe for me, that he actually had thought about suicide, which he'd never had that sensation before he took Chantix. So the good news was he was able to quit smoking. The bad news was that it created some thoughts in his head that he hadn't previously had. So again, I think like with all cutting edge technology, medical breakthroughs, the good and the bad just have to be weighed. And I don't know the answer. I'm not educated enough or intelligent.
Right, absolutely. And I don't expect your expertise on it.
Common sense dictates that we must always, if there's something new on the horizon that could be beneficial, we need to explore it, and then weigh the good and the bad, and then determine what the way to go is. I'm not giving you a good answer about anything.
No, I understand that, and you're just kind of going off of shooting off your hip, but also seeing what you've seen out there, from your own personal experiences.
Well, like I said, with the Chantix for my brother, my own personal experience was I had to take Humira for a skin disorder. I'd had some psoriasis of the skin, and it turned out to be extremely beneficial. It's cleared up the skin completely, and I've gotten to the point now where I only have to take 1 dose per month instead of 2. And it's proved as a side benefit to be helpful, they say, with psoriatic arthritis. And so I've still got a little bit of a problem with this finger here, but generally speaking, unbeknownst to the main reason why we took the prescription to begin with, it's had side benefits. And I think that only comes about through trial and error, right? Through experimentation.
And I agree, that sometimes you have to kind of, allow people to experiment with it and see if it actually does something.
Right, but again, always keeping a wary eye on
right, absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely. Now, this one is actually dealing with the current events that have been taking place,
Wow, you got a lot
which
of
is,
questions. Okay.
well, I have one more after this. The one that I bring up next relates to both of those, which is the Mr. Alexis up at the Navy Yard.
Okay.
He was saying that he was hearing, voices through the floors, etc., etc.
Right.
Well, with that being said, through him, and with that technology that I mentioned at the beginning, what are the possibilities that he is telling the truth? And then on top of that, what would be, and I'm not saying, he had every excuse or anything like that, I'm not condoning it or anything, but I'm just raising the questions of what if that was true, and then what if he was taking trazodone because he was being severely deprived of sleep.
Well, I mean, it gets into the question of over-medication too, right? And who was monitoring him? Who was his personal physician? Who were his medical caregivers? And do they have a culpability in this? I'm not an expert on Hippocratic Oath. I don't know anything about how you assess blame in that circumstance. But
not necessarily assess blame, but just to figure out what's really going on, because time and time again, things have been slowly unearthed through alternative media, and it just kind of begs the question, what?
I think it's a legitimate question too, but again, I don't know what I think the answer is, other than I certainly wish that there had been someone that was working with him that would have flagged these issues
Thank you so much.
earlier on.
We'll get a bag for now.
Because I think it could have been a different outcome if someone had actually
Are y'all all the way down?
taken the initiative to try to help the guy in a better way.
Thank goodness.
He was on record reporting
we
these
always
issues.
stick around like ABC. I think last year.
Clearly he didn't receive the help that he needed
we take them
to
everywhere.
The Subaru bags from last year actually
eliminate
still
what
up in our bag.
ultimately
So
took
people
place
do
in
wonder.
Navy.
Well, what about the whole issue that the mainstream media has been putting out, and not just ABC and the basics, but like CNN, how they report that he was a schizophrenia, and with schizophrenia.
Again, I'm not an expert on what the media didn't report. I do know, speaking as a media guy myself, that I think we endeavor to tell what can be told when it can be told, and so when we know stuff, we go with it. We don't sit on information. Whatever is the most breaking and most pertinent and most important information, intelligence, and data that comes to us, we push it forward. We talk about it as soon as we know it. What other network media did, or the cable.
Right. But just in a generalization, they've been reporting that he was schizophrenia, and doctors have come out and said, normally with people with schizophrenia, it's reported earlier on in their life, and it's slow, but progressing.
Those might not have been doctors who treated this individual guy, though. I mean, those were just talking head experts that were weighing in, just like me being some talking expert you're talking to now. I mean, I don't really know anything. Maybe they don't know anything.
Okay. And then as far as the whole trazodone, why won't, in your belief, why does the mainstream media, totally ignore that possible issue? And is it more of a fact that It's well documented as far as what people see on TV and such that.
Hang on, just half a second. What can I do for you?
That's you, right?
That's me.
I'll take that one.
Okay.
My
hang
name's
on, bud.
Karen.
All right, Karen.
Yeah, Karen, yeah.
Got it.
Is that one you?
That's me.
I'll take that one.
All right.
Yeah, yesterday.
Sure you will. That'll be the one you want to hang on your refrigerator.
Well, yeah, I watched that one. I watched them all, but they didn't have them yesterday. They didn't have nobody signing yesterday.
Well, they did. Just when you came by, they did.
Yeah.
They had people in and out all day.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they had no pictures. I got the guy that was on the booth or whatever.
Oh, Sal.
Here, Karen.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I hope you'll be here
All
soon.
right, I'm trying to think of how
That's
to
all
answer
right.
that.
Well, let me rephrase it. Would you think it's a fair statement to say that mainstream doesn't really want to touch it because a lot of the funding that they received, whether it's to you guys directly or the stations, as far as like ABC, etc., that they don't want to push the issue because they are getting the majority of their funding through these medication type companies?
I doubt it. I mean, for what it's worth, as someone who's sat in editorial meetings for 28 years, never does funding of commercial interests ever enter into any conversation of journalistic coverage. It just does not. At my level, at the local level here at Hampton Roads, Virginia. I can't speak for what happens in New York, at CBS and NBC and ABC, but I know that here it's never a consideration. It's never.
Right.
There's never been marching orders. You can't do this story because we're receiving funding from this advertiser, so you can't do this story. It's never happened.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
What's your